So I want to tell you guys about this time that I went to a wedding and I was absolutely humiliated because I was dressed so inappropriately. So I was working in this town. I was a TV news anchor, and no, at that time I was a reporter. And I had moved to this little podunk town. And back in those days, it would be only one black person per market or one black person per TV station. And I was the black person at the TV station. Of course, I was more overqualified than everybody, but I was the black reporter at this station. So this preacher in the town, he was a mega church preacher in the area, and he was black, and his daughter was getting married. And everybody had heard about the wedding. It was on the front page of the newspaper. It was a big old deal in the small town. And I was like, man, I wanted to go to the wedding. And a young lady who worked for the newspaper, she was from the town and she worked for the black newspaper, and she invited me to go as her guest. And so I was like, yeah, I was glad and excited to go because I could get a chance to see the community and just be around some black people. So she tells me, I was like, okay, well, what are you wearing? She goes, well, it's an African wedding. I go, African? I was, aren't they black? She goes, yeah, but it's a traditional African wedding. That's what the invitation says. So, we're supposed to wear African attire. I was like, I don't have anything. So I had been in a pageant like probably 5 years prior where I had to wear African attire, and a friend of mine had sent me an African outfit to wear in the opening act of this pageant, and I ended up winning the pageant. And so I took that and started cutting stuff off of that, and I don't know what it was, but I I basically made a costume, like an African costume, right, to wear. Wasn't true because we didn't have any African clothes, and so I just kind of figured everybody will be there in their African clothes, and it was a small town. I didn't think anybody was going to go send for nothing from Africa, right? So I put like a big old thing tied on my head and some cuffs on, and put some big bone earrings or something, some African earrings on, some big wooden African earrings. Child, we walked in that wedding and black people was standing around in tuxedos and ball gowns. Like the men had on tails. And we walked in and I just looked at her and I was like, I thought you said it was an African wedding. And she was like, and I wanted to leave, but I was riding with her. And back in them days, you didn't really have like, wasn't no Uber. And I probably wouldn't have left anyway because I was young and didn't know that I could have. So people was looking at us like we were crazy. Like, what are you wearing? Right. And so we tried to sit at the back of the ceremony and tried to get out of there. But the way they had it set up, you couldn't just leave. Right. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. So I was like, okay, let's just get some cake and go. So we go get some cake, and then the guy in the MC goes, hey, that's Candace Kelly from the news. You want to come up and say a few things? How do you know the bride and groom? Oh my God. So of course I get up and I explain, I'm new to town and I just wanted to get to know everyone. And then, and I wish I had thought to say that whatever her name was, told us it was an African attire. And then as I was leaving, people were like, are you from Africa? Are you African? And I'm like, so it was just a big disaster. It was so embarrassing. And somewhere I have pictures of that. And when I find them, with us black people standing around in ball gowns, like all the women had on like these long, beautiful gowns, and the men had on gloves, and there we was in some African costumes. Well, needless to say, I kicked it with her a little bit longer, but as far as like going places with her, I didn't go. Like if she invited me to go to something, I didn't go with her. I was very humiliated and angry. So I guess the moral of that story is if somebody invites you to go somewhere, find out what they're wearing and find out what everybody else is wearing. And if you get there and you're dressed inappropriately, leave. Because I had a ton of ball gowns at my house. I was a pageant girl.